You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening, guys? Today I'm chatting with Alex Ferrari. Alex is the owner of Indie Film Hustle. He's created IFH to share what he's learned over the years as a writer, director, producer, and post-production VFX supervisor. IFH was made to give you the real deal, the truth on how to make it as a filmmaker in a crazy and sometimes brutal business. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell our listeners where you're calling in from and maybe something interesting about yourself.
I'm calling in from Los Angeles, California. I live in Hollywood, and I've been in the film industry for about 25 years.
Awesome. And so tell us what is up with, you got a couple of different things going on. Is it Indie Film Hustle that you want to chat about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Indie Film Hustle is my main website, podcast, blog. I launched it it's going to be in July. It'll be 5 years ago. And I launched the podcast at around the same time. And that one, within 3 months of launching, became the #1 filmmaking podcast on iTunes.
Nice.
And then from there, it's grown and grown. I'm almost up to I think we just released episode 375 of that podcast.
Nice.
And then I started to build out different brands to better serve my audience. So Indie Film Hustle was the first website / company that I launched. Then I launched Bulletproof Screenwriting, which was another sub-niche of another company dedicated just to the screenwriting sub-niche of my audience. Which I found was very, very, just needed more attentive, just a different kind of value. And then now I just recently launched Filmtrepreneur, which is based on a book, and it's a whole philosophy of how to become an entrepreneurial filmmaker in today's crazy world because of all the craziness that's happening in our industry as far as money and how to generate money in the film industry in general. So those are the three main pillars of my companies, of my main company, which is IFH Industries. But then I have a streaming service called Indie Film Hustle TV. I have IFH Books, which is another company that's just publishing my books, and now I'm publishing other people's books as well. I'm just trying to create as much value as I can for my niche, which is filmmakers.
Sure, of course.
And there's really, when I came out 5 years ago, there wasn't really a lot of people doing what I was doing. There were, but nobody I felt that had any street credibility. There's just there's a lot of people that talk about it, kind of like yourself. Like you're talking the talk, but you've walked the walk.
Sure.
You've built companies, you've done these kind of things, and I've been in the business for a long time. So it's kind of like from the trenches kind of advice, and now it's morphed into something much bigger than I ever intended. And now this is all I do full time. So I used to just direct and do post-production editing, color grading, visual effects. And I closed that company down about 2.5 years ago. And now this is my business. This is what I do every day.
That's awesome. I love the filmpreneur.
So filmtrepreneur. Yeah.
That makes it easier to say it first. Entrepreneur, filmpreneur. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, what I know of the film industry, and I've had some actors and some people on the show as well, and some directors and people that have kind of done a lot of like Sundance things as well. Sundance actually in Utah right now. We just got done with that last week. And it's, it seems like it was you got to know somebody kind of industry, right? Back in the day. Yeah. Back in the day. Right. And you being able to kind of throw out some of these cool abilities of like learning skill sets on getting into the game. Sounds pretty awesome. And I hope some of our listeners that, because everyone probably always at some point thinks, I could probably write film. I could probably shoot, everybody thinks that, right? Like you look at Animal House, like I could have probably written that, man. That's just a bunch of crazy drunken people. So you look, but when it's all said and done, like obviously there's so much more that goes into it because I have some friends in the industry too. I lived in Newport Beach for the past 12 years. And I get it. I don't get it from a kind of like intricate, like micro level, but on the macro standpoint, like I see that this could be really valuable to a lot of people that are extremely creative, but don't know where to start. Tell me, is there a lot of filmpreneurs out there?
Not only are there a lot of, there aren't as many filmtrepreneurs as there should be. Because right now the bill of goods that we were sold as filmmakers was based on a very old system that does not exist anymore, or it is crumbling around us. So, in the 90s when Sundance, or you being in Park City right now is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
In the 90s, the whole concept of independent filmmaking in general. Hold on a second. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Hold on a second. Is it you? Is it me? Hold on a second. I'm so sorry, man.
It's okay.
Give me a sec.
I'm not getting anything.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I can't hear you. So hold on one second.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. All right, I went back.
Yeah. Okay,
I was getting feedback for some reason. I'm so sorry about that, man.
We'll edit it out. It's okay.
All right. So where was I? Okay. So the bill of goods. So originally in film schools and Hollywood in general, we're teaching us the kind of way of doing things. Or let me back it up. Filmmakers still think it's the 1990s. So you being at Sundance right now or in Park City, a lot of people thought like you make a movie, you go to Sundance and you get a big fat check and now you're rolling, and that's how it works. And that did happen there was a window of opportunity, a window of time for that kind of world to exist. That world is gone. And now the devaluation of media is happening. It happened in books, then it happened in the music industry, and now it's happening in the film industry. So where somebody used to rent a movie for $5 or go to the theater and spend $10 to watch a movie, those numbers are it's not a growth industry. So now people, I don't know, when was the last time you rented a movie, like actually paid to rent a movie?
It's been a long time.
Right, because you're generally now accustomed to the Netflix, the Hulu, the YouTube TV, all the streaming, all the different subscription models to get your movies for free as part of your subscription model. So TVOD or transactional video on demand is pretty much a dead issue. And there's still people making money with it. And the studios are a different world. That's a completely different business model. I'm talking about in the mid to lower level independent film creation.
Yeah.
So they're teaching filmmakers all of these things that are wrong. And Hollywood's really great about the sizzle. I mean, if you lived in Newport Beach, I'm sure at one point or another you made it down over to Hollywood Boulevard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's not what it looks like on the Oscar night, does it? No, it's not. And that's the beautiful thing about Hollywood is that they know how to sell the sizzle, man, but they really don't have a lot of steak.
Yeah.
in it. So, and that's the problem. So, and that's a perfect analogy of what it is. Like on Oscar night, you see everything looks so beautiful and ugly, beautiful. But if you walk like, a block or two left or a block or two right, grab the purse and watch out for the needles. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. So tell me a little bit about your journey, man. Like, let's say, how long have you been in business, by the way?
Almost 5 years as far as IFH Industries.
Okay. So tell me a time where, because we know it's not all rainbows and donuts and skipping through the valley of lilies and stuff, right? So tell me a time where you felt you kind of hit rock bottom, Alex, or close to it and had to overcome something like that.
Well, I actually wrote a book about my rock bottom, and it's called Shooting for the Mob, which is
I love that.
I almost made a film for I almost made a $20 film for. I'm sorry. Every time you move the mic, it's what's happening. I get I'm getting like a reverb. So just be careful. So I wrote a book called Shooting for the Mob, which is about how I almost made a $20 million film for the mafia. I was 26 years old. And I was living in that lovely dream that the sizzle that Hollywood sold me, like, oh, this is my lottery ticket. Like, when am I going to get my El Mariachi? When am I going to get my Robert Rodriguez dream or my Spike Lee or Kevin Smith or all those guys from that time? This is my shot. So I was taken for a long ride with this mobster for about a year, and my life was threatened all the time. He was bipolar. I was promised to be paid. I wasn't being paid. I almost lost my house. All of this, and people are thinking, "Well, Alex, why didn't you just leave?" Well, first of all, I was scared to death for my life.
Sure.
Secondly, the golden carrot that he kept dangling on me, it got shinier because it wasn't just him talking about stuff. I would be flown out to LA as a 26-year-old filmmaker, and I met the biggest movie stars in the world. I met billion-dollar producers. I'm at the Chateau Marmont. I'm at the Ivy. I even have a whole chapter of how I met Batman. I went to one of the actors who played Batman's fort.
Awesome.
I went to the back. I basically went to Wayne Manor.
Pretty much the best.
And
Yeah.
I went to Wayne Manor basically, and there was an Alfred there, and I sat there like 4 feet away from Batman, and he's like, "Hey, I want to be in your movie." So there was that shiny light, like this has to be real, you know. But it wasn't, and eventually all came crashing down, and I got to the point where I went all the way down. My rock bottom was 2 days away from signing bankruptcy papers and almost losing my house. And I literally yelled up to the universe, and I just said, "Hey, man, I want to pay my bills." And I was in like 150,000 in debt or something like that. A lot of that was just stupidity. A lot of it was just the situation I was, because I was 26 and
sure.
We're not the smartest at that early age, especially when you have no guidance in the financial situations world. Yeah. And so I just yelled out and I said, "Look, if you guys want me to, I don't want to sign these papers, but if you don't send me some help, I'm going to sign these papers. I got to do it." The next day, I got a call from my very first boss in the business, and he said, "Hey, man, there's someone looking for an editor up in West Palm Beach. You want to?" I gave them your name, and they're expecting you. And I grabbed my demo reel on VHS, drove up an hour, put it in, and they gave me a job.
Nice.
And I slowly just dug my way out of the hole. And then from there, like a year and a half later, or a year and a half or so, I opened up my first post house. Nice. And then I started directing again, because I couldn't get on the set for probably about 3 years after that experience. I was just devastated.
Sure, absolutely.
And then slowly built out that. And then there's been a couple other ups and downs during that time, to the point where I was at a low right before I launched Indie Film Hustle. Not as low as that was my lowest, but I was at another low. And then ever since I opened up Indie Film Hustle and all of my companies at IFH Industries, I was able to, it just changed my life. Being able to help other people, being able to be of service to other people, opened up everything to me. And it's given me opportunities. It's given me access to people that I would have never in a million years been able to get access to and talk to for a half hour, or even build relationships with. It's just been an amazing experience. So now I use that old terms, like if you want your dream to come true, you need to help other people with their dreams.
I was about to drop that. I love that you did. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's so true. And I know it's hard for people listening that are going, "Hey man, I can't help other people. I can barely pay my rent." That's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because when I launched Indie Film Hustle, I had been out of the film industry for about 3 years, because I opened up an olive oil and vinegar gourmet shop, and that's a whole other conversation for another podcast.
Yes.
That's a whole other conversation. So I was in a dark place when I opened it up, but I realized that I wanted to give back again.
Yeah.
And then I had zero social media, zero, like no one even knew. I had nothing to leverage.
Yeah.
So out of just persistent and grind and just hustle, I just showed up and just started pounding it day in, day out. Some days, for a bunch of those months, I wasn't making a whole lot of money. And then slowly I was able to start generating revenue, and then it grew and grew and grew over the years, to the point where I just said, "Oh, this is now my new full-time job." And then I started writing books, and I started speaking. I started doing consulting and coaching and other things like that to be of more service to my audience. And now, I've kind of become, a whistleblower in my industry for like distribution scams and things like that. I didn't sign up. I didn't sign up for it, but I kind of fell into it.
Evolved, right?
I fell into it because there was a company that went under, and then nobody was talking about why they went under, and they literally like stole millions of dollars from filmmakers, and there was like I think it was about 2,000 films locked up, and filmmakers were just, people were, I knew a guy owed $250,000, $500,000. It was really, really bad. And I said, you know what, I got to come out. So I broke the story. And then from that point on, I was like, I didn't make any money off that. I actually put myself out there in a way that I really didn't have to. But I did it because it was to be of service to my audience. And then we started building a community around that. And then then I was in the cover of the LA Times Entertainment. Then I was in Variety. Then I was in IndieWire. And then and all these other news outlets started picking up the story. And then now now another company just went under like literally 2 weeks ago that's done the same things, and I'm trying to help the community. It's a scary time right now. It's a scary time for the film industry.
Well, I think that's the fact that you did that is just a difference. A lot of people listening is like putting yourself out there, but doing the right thing versus the popular thing. The popular thing is just shut up, let everybody do what they got to do. But the right thing is let's get it out there. Let's talking about it so it doesn't happen again, right? And that's your world. That's your industry. I think that's a no-brainer. Alex, why do you think, in your entrepreneurship journey here, why do you think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that just give up?
I think first of all, being an entrepreneur is extremely difficult. Yeah. It takes an insane mindset to kind of get to where you need to be. The thing with me, at least for my journey, and I've been selling, I had a garage sale. My main hustle when I was 10 was having garage sales. Yeah. And I would just go around to my family members, you got stuff you don't want? Give it to me. And then I would go out every weekend and just sell it. And I would be the only 10, 12-year-old with like flush cash, like $100, like $100 for a 12-year-old just walking around buying my baseball cards and my comic books, and my garbage pail kids.
Pre-Craigslist, bro.
Oh, I know, right? It's all
pre-Craigslist. Yeah, just like putting like, things on like phone posts, like garage sale this way, right?
It was insane. So the entrepreneurial thing has been in me since I was a kid. So I was kind of like I always say, I was programmed at the factory that way. It's not something I was taught. It was something that I came with. And my grandfather had an influence on me because he was a very hardworking businessman as well. But so with my journey as an entrepreneur, like there were days and weeks and months working on Indie Film Hustle that like I didn't make any real money, and it wasn't like I was still having to hustle my day job. I still had to do jobs I didn't want to do to pay the bills, and I have a family. I live in LA, for God's sake, so it's not the cheapest place in the world to live. Yeah, and all of that kind of stuff. But the difference, I think, for me keeping going is I was helping people. So because my motivation wasn't just money. It's a business. Look, and I have to make money and I have to build it. And the more money I can generate and more revenue I can generate, the more impact I can make. The larger my platform, the more impact I can make in the world. And that's just that is just the facts.
Right.
But I lead with being of service. I lead with helping people. And that's what kept me going. I was like, you know what? I might not be making any money now, but I got that email from that one guy in Switzerland whose life got changed because I did a podcast interview with this guy.
Yeah.
And I just kept going. So, what I would suggest entrepreneurs going through is like, why? Ask the why. If you're doing this for money and money only, it's going to be a tough track, man. It's going to be really tough. And I know I'm from LA and I know I'm, all foo-foo and all that kind of stuff with, and spiritual and all that kind. Fine, whatever you want to talk about. But
our listeners hear that every time. Everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you don't do it if you're not being of service to the community that you're trying to sell a product to or build a company for, this is business 101.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be of value, that's the only way you can make any business work. Be of value, create value.
Yep.
And then if you have some sort of emotion or heart behind it, authenticity behind it, then it's going to be a lot easier. It's kind of like I tell people all the time, filmmakers all the time, like, oh, I want to make, I want to make this. I always use the example of a vegan chef movie. Like I always say, like if you want to make a niche film, make a movie about a vegan chef who meets a barbecue champion, and you do all this stuff. And I have a whole, I break that whole concept down in the book, which is great. But I go, and there's a lot of money to be made in the vegan, vegetarian, paleo space if you want, because there's nobody doing a lot of that kind of cinema for that group. And they're extremely passionate and they're extremely, they're educated and they want to spend money and all this kind of stuff. But if you like eat meat all day and you're like, I'm going to make a vegan documentary because that's where the money is, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to work. You've got to find that thing that lights the fire inside of you. Right. And that's what's going to help you keep going. So if you don't find that, that's why you're going to quit. And trust me, I've gone down a lot of paths with business that I really wasn't into it. I was going after the money. And, we all make those mistakes. When you're younger, you're just like, I need the money. I'm going to hustle. I got to hustle, get the money, get the money. And it never works out. It never worked out for me, ever. I might have a little bit of a bump here, a little bit of money there. But if you're not providing real value to people and you're really trying to help people in one way, shape, or form, And it doesn't have to be huge, man. Look, I have a pen right here. Somebody made this pen. It's providing value to whoever has it.
Yeah.
It's a commodity. There's 1,000 companies making pen. What does it make this pen special? I don't know. But it's about creating value for that audience. And if you can connect to that, that's going to hold you. Again, it's going to guide you through this whole process because it's not easy. Like I think you said, it takes you 10 years to be an overnight success.
That's right. It sure does. Overnight, 10 years, man. You start sleeping and start working. Are you struggling to grow your business? Have you ever thought, man, I wish Mike could answer my specific questions about my business? Well, you're in luck, and I can help. Go to michaellevis.com and sign up to schedule a free live on-air call today. That's right. For a limited time, we're recording real business owners with real struggles. You mentioned something that I want to kind of backtrack on a little bit, like
sure,
being excited, being passionate. And I think kind of as a kind of a bolt on to that is that when you're excited about something and when you're on fire about something, right, Alex, you don't have to fake it. And people today know when you're faking it, especially the generation from X, Millennial, Z. It's they grew up on advertising. They see faking it all day. And understanding that, being organic and transparent to winning the game on so many different levels and so many different products, it works. And it's just also important that people see that in you. And you don't have to create the fake it till you make it bullshit, right? You're like actually the real deal. You're understanding that you got to enjoy the journey rather than the outcome. And that's there, but there's still a lot of bottom line, like Alex said, guys that are listening, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of sacrifice, right? There's a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice.
Authenticity is the key to any business. You have to be authentic because you might have been able to get away with the snake oil salesman stuff back in the 1800s and the early 1900s because people weren't savvy to it. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm Gen X. I don't know how old you are. I think you're a little younger than me, but we're still in the same vintage.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
So we're in the same vintage. So we grew up, watching ads and understanding things and seeing things, and we can smell BS a while. So when you see the guy in the middle of the night, going, "Hey, you want to be rich with real estate with no money down?" And he's like on a boat somewhere, and he's with women who are definitely punching above his weight class. You're like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Before you could get away with that and you can make a lot of money that way. But in today's world with with social media, with this hyper instant reviews and all that stuff, you can't do that. So it's actually forced entrepreneurs to be better. You can't be fat and lazy anymore and be successful. You actually have got to work now. Look at Gary Vee. I'm sure you follow Gary, and everybody here listening is probably know who Gary is. Gary hustled his ass off, man, and he's still hustling his ass off to this day. He's a multi-millionaire. Yeah, and he's still hustling. But you know what? What you see is what you get.
That's right.
And he's unapologetic about it. That authenticity, love him or hate him, it's authentic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the world where people, I always say that when the world where people are jumping fences and taking selfies in front of jets, let's
jumping fences. I like that. It's a jumping fences and take pictures with jets.
If you're jumping fences and taking pictures in front of jets and selfies and then jamming and jumping fences back over so you don't get arrested, let's all in that world, let's just all realize that being real is so much cooler than that, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, the web and the people that are pitching the get rich fast stuff that you'll see online, it's just not real. Put the work in. Put the work at. Have work ethic. And if you don't, that's okay. Take the 9 to 5. But if you want to do something, don't do the dive. You can dive in while you do the 9 to 5. You're just going to have 2 full-time jobs for a little while. It's the way it works. And that's what that's where the work ethic comes in. And we're lucky to have the resources and things called Google that create some of these awesome things, creating websites like Alex's, where like, I don't know how to start a film. I don't know where to start. Go to his website. You're going to see so much different data out there. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I was going through that. Like, maybe I want to start a film. No, I don't.
No.
Too many ideas in my head, by the way.
No. Please. Let's,
no.
you gotta love what you're doing if you want to jump.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, I love
like
this.
if you just
So,
want to I think this will be fun. Stop.
this is my film right here, bro.
Exactly.
We're live. Yeah.
Exactly.
As far as I'm gonna go, I'll leave it to the filmpreneurs. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about some pardon advice here, Alex. Like if you had to give some advice during your entrepreneurship journey, your ups, your downs, of course. What is the one piece of pardon advice that you'd give to the aspiring entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs out there?
Find something that you're passionate about, and find something that you feel that you can provide a tremendous amount of value. And you don't have to be an expert in it. You don't have to have 25 years in it. You could be doing it in three different ways. You can either be the expert or someone who's in the industry, so the experiencer, and you can pass your experience on, or you could be the curator. I mean, Oprah has not done bad at all, and she is probably the most legendary curator of all time. She just interviewed other guests and built her entire empire around curating other people's knowledge and other people's experiences. So those are the two major ways, or the third way is a combination of the two.
Right.
So kind of like what I do, I have experience in the film industry, but I also interview people. I'm also a curator of information. So I combine both, and if you can do both, it's very powerful.
I take the same model. Yeah, you build a really good ecosystem for sure.
Yeah, so that's a good way of doing it, because I don't know everything.
Yep.
I don't know everything, and I'd rather talk to somebody who wrote one of my favorite movies of all time, and sit there and go, so how was it to work with David Fincher? And like, what's that all about? And like, what was the deal? I don't have that experience, so I've been able to bring that in to my ecosystem. But if you can find what you're passionate about and either curate it, or if it's something that you're very passionate about. So like, just to give you an example, when I first was going to launch this, I read the book. The book that got me started on this whole journey was 4 Hour Workweek.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Ferriss's book.
Yep.
So when I read that, it was kind of like the first time that the bulb went off, and like, hey, wait a minute, I think I can make a business here. I think I could do this. And for another show, I did a lot of stuff earlier on in the internet and stuff, so I understood the world. But it was the first time in recent years that I could actually grab around it. So I read everything, all of Gary's books, Seth Godin's books, Tim's book. Like I read everything. And then I was like, I got to find my niche. This is how stupid we are. I got to find my niche. I'm going to be like the jelly bean guy. Like I'm going to make a jelly bean website, and I'm going to be like the authority in jelly beans. And then I told my wife, and my wife's like, but you don't eat jelly beans. I'm like, I know, but that's a niche. And she's like, you're an idiot. Do something about film. I'm like, yeah, I'll do something about film eventually. And then like a week later, I'm like, yeah, I should probably do something about film.
Stick to what I know, right?
Exactly. But that's the thing. People get all caught up with like, I'm going to find that niche. Like I'm going to be, I eat steak every night, but I'm going to do a vegan website. Like it doesn't.
Right. That doesn't make sense.
Not really going to work out for you. So find something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Figure out if you can yourself provide value to it, or be a curator of that value. And it's very, very powerful, especially with today's technology. I'm like, look, you're in Utah. I'm in LA.
Yeah.
We're recording this right now. There's so much opportunity with the technology at our head. We can leverage so much technology to do what we're doing. What we're doing right here used to cost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. And you would have to have a crew of people and all this stuff. And now it's almost essentially free.
Yeah.
You could do it over Skype like I do it, and it's free, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you educate yourself, and by the way, educate yourself as much as humanly possible.
All day.
I was listening to one of your videos, and you were reading. I read 2 to 3 books a week on Audible every week. I'm an addict. Every time I call Audible, they're just like, when I return 1 or 2 books, they're like, Jesus, man, you've got a lot of books in your library. I'm like, I buy constantly.
Become a library.
Constantly.
Yeah, your brain.
And so educate yourself as much as possible. Take online courses from reputable people. Take seminars, take workshops. Just educate yourself as much as humanly possible. It took me almost a year before I launched. From the moment I got the idea to when I launched, it was a year of my life that I was just constantly reading and analyzing and figuring things out before I pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And that takes maturity. That takes patience. And that's the other big word I would say is patience. This is not a sprint, guys. This is a long play.
It's a marathon. Yeah.
And if you could do a little every day gets you at one step a day. That's all you should do. You don't have to lift a mountain all at once, It's kind of, you can't eat the mountain all in one bite, but you can take one bite at a time. And all of a sudden you look around and you're like, half the mountain's gone. Right. Or I'm almost up to the top of the mountain because you just kept doing everything. And that's the one thing I noticed in my industry with podcasting specifically, that a lot of the people that were around when I started just gave up. Yeah. It's too hard. It's too hard. And they couldn't figure it out. They didn't do the work. And they just
patience wasn't there, right? I'll probably do this for 6 months to a year, $0. $0.
Absolutely.
7 days a week. 7 days a week, $0. But I have to have the patience, and I know that having that much content out there is just, it's a no-brainer.
And it compounds.
And I love it. And I love it.
And it compounds.
Meeting people like you, meeting so many awesome people out there, from millionaires to billionaires. I mean, I love it. It's pretty awesome. And just being, and in fact, I'd probably do it for free. I'm still doing it for free now, but in the long term, we're like, it's sponsors. Sure, we're ready to get knocked on doors for those. Yes, and I'm excited about it. But in reality, I'm learning so much. This could be my Audible, right? Like and if you're listening, that's how I learned to create a podcast. I was like, I want to learn more and more. And that was probably my biggest why behind it. And I'm learning from people like Alex, people like others like Ian Altman, who wrote Same Side Selling, who just is in every airport you see right now. Like, I have another hour session with him coming up this next week. And it's just more of understanding better and learning, and keep learning. You don't got to read a ton of books. If you like 5 or 10 of them, listen to them over and over again. Let it just sizzle in your brain, and understanding how to then take massive action on that stuff, man.
Yeah, that's the key. And that grind, you got to love the grind.
Yeah.
Like in my business, I was doing 2 episodes a week. You're doing 7. I was doing 2 episodes a week at the start. And because I said, well, everyone's doing 1, I'm going to do 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I didn't need to do 7, because in the business space, it's a whole other conversation.
Sure.
But in the filmmaking space, if I did 2, I'm doubling everybody else.
Up in the ante, yeah.
And then now I do 2 to 3 a week, depending, because I have 3 podcasts right now. So, and now everyone's like, how do you do everything? And you run this and you do that and you're writing books and you're doing talks. I'm like, I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love it. This is so much fun. And I am addicted to it. And it's what I do now. It's what I do. And I'm very humbled and grateful that I get the opportunity to help as many people as I can with my work.
Well, ditto. Keep doing it, Alex. Where can we find you, man?
So you can find me at indiefilmhustle.com is the main hub for everything I do. Bulletproofscreenwriting.tv if you're interested in screenwriting. Filmtrepreneur.com or filmmakingbusiness.com is a quick hack to that.
Okay.
But filmtrepreneur.com. And then alexferrari.com for if it's speaking, coaching, and other things like that as well. And Indie Film Hustle TV, ifhtv.com for my streaming service. And my books are available on Amazon, on Audible. And if you want a quick link, you can go to filmbizbook.com for my book, Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, which it became a bestseller within 12 hours of launching on Amazon. It was crazy, dude. It was crazy. People like my industry. There is no book like this. There is no book about how to make money in today's world in the film industry outside of the traditional model. So people are eating it up, and it's still selling like crazy. And I self-published, which is
that's even better.
It's the only way to do this.
Nice.
It's great. And I've heard from a lot of business people who read the book and they go, Alex, this is a good film book and all, but this is just a good business book. So like if you're a business, if you want to understand about online business and creating revenue streams and a lot of the theories, it just translates. You take film out and put another product in, it just works as well. Awesome. So I'm really excited about what that's done as well. So, but yeah, and I could keep going. I got 1,000 other websites, but that'll be enough.
Oh yeah, no, I think we got a ton of .coms, but don't worry, we'll put them in the show notes for you guys. When you jump to michaelleibus.com, you can check out Alex Ferrari and just jump in the name when this is live. You'll see those show notes as well. Alex, dude, thanks so much, man. I appreciate your time, bro.
Hey, man, thank you for having me, man. Good luck to you with your podcast and your hustle, baby.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Leibus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.